Good afternoon, everyone. We'll go ahead and get started. I'm Zach Myers with the Center for Dairy Excellence. Thank you for taking the time today to join our Protecting Your Profits webinar. If you have any questions, remind you just to put those in the chat box, and then we'll answer them either during the presentation or at the end, depending on what we have time for. So my goal today, as every month, is to provide an overview of current dairy markets and to review risk management opportunities. And while all this information is public information, I may express some opinions, but that certainly should not be seen as recommendations. So our agenda here is just the same as normal current markets. Then exports and imports. We'll take a little deeper dive into exports than what we normally do, and then dairy margin coverage, and finish with dairy revenue protection. So unfortunately, due to the timing of USDA reports in this webinar, the January milk production report was not available. The February milk production report is not available, and that usually has the January numbers in it, and the February report also usually has the annualized 2021 previous year numbers as well. So we won't be able to go through that today, but next month I'll have that information, and we can look at least the national numbers for 2021 next time. So just moving into the product stocks, butter and non-fat dry milk stocks shrunk again during December and January after shrinking in the previous months as well. January butter stocks finished the month down about 111 million pounds to 221 million pounds, while December non-fat dry milk was down about 44 million pounds to 37 million, and January cheese stocks grew slightly, about 3%, by 49 million pounds to 1.4 billion pounds totaled in the month. Looking at prices, at $2.61 per pound, January butter price is $1.32 higher than last year, and is cheaper than the global dairy trade and EU butter prices at $3.05 and $3 respectively. Cheese price is up 17 cents compared to last year, and is still a discount compared to the GDT at $2.52, but 2 cents a pound higher than the EU at $1.74. So not much difference, still comparable. And at $1.76 per pound, non-fat dry milk is 58 cents more than last year, and is slightly lower than the global dairy trade price of $1.80, but 58 cents higher than the EU price of $1.58. The world milk supply is still declining, so we'll see in the coming months how this affects the prices going forward and how we compare it to international. December dairy product production, butter production was down 27 million pounds compared to last year to 180 million pounds, so about 13%. December cheese production was basically flat, just increasing by a little more than 0.1%, or just 1.5 million pounds to 1.1 billion pounds produced in December. Powder production was down 42 million pounds compared to last year to $166 million, and some of these products, and especially on the powder side, given the reduction in milk supply or the slower rate of growth, there's less milk that needs to be manufactured into some of the powder products. On the demand side, butter disappearance is up about 7% to 201 million pounds due to increases in both domestic use and exports. At 461 million pounds, American cheese disappearance is up about 5% because of increased domestic use and exports as well. At 698 million pounds, other style cheese disappearance was basically flat, again up just 0.3% or so. driven by an increase in exports that offset a slight decrease in domestic use. Milk powder disappearance is up over 9% to 227 million pounds, driven by a near 100% increase in domestic use, and that offset a 12% decrease in exports.Moving on to milk price. Class 3 milk futures on February the 18th. For the next 12 months, we're up 74 cents compared to this time last month, to average $21.46 a hundredweight. December class 3 peaks in April at 22.81, then gradually falls to the lower 20s by the end of the year and into the beginning of next year. The current class 3 12-month average price is $4.81 more than the 5-year average of $16.65. Class 4 price peaks at $24.40 in March, then steadily falls into the low 21s by the end of the year. So if the current class 4 prices stay where they are, it'll be represent an all-time class 4 price since we've been using the class system here. That class 4 12-month average is increased to $23.10, 89 cents more than last month, and is nearly $8 more than the 5-year average price of $15.18 a hundredweight. So moving into exports. December exports, we'll look at the annual numbers for 2021 in the next slide, but just for December, about 159,000 metric tons were exported in the month of December. This is down 4% compared to the previous year, December, and a lot of that is contributed to the problems at the ports out west and getting exports on ships and on their way to their final destinations. However, even though the volume was down, value was up. So the value was estimated at a little more than $602 million for the month of December, which is 18% more than last December, which of course is a reflection of the increase in our product prices over the course of the year compared to 2020. And 2021 exports made several new records, and we'll talk about that right now. It's a little busy of a slide, but that's just indicative of how well exports did last year. And this, of course, is occurred in despite the issues that were had at on the shipping side and getting things on ships to go overseas. So total dairy exports reached 2.3 million metric tons. This is 10% more than the previous record set last year. So this is the second year in a row. 2021 was the second year in a row to set a volume record. Export value reached about $7.75 billion. This is again about 10 cents more than the previous record set and 10% more than the previous record set in 2014. And it's only the second time in the history of dairy exports to surpass the $7 billion mark, with 2014's record being right at 7.1, a little less than $7.1 billion. Cheese volume set an all-time record at 404,675 metric tons. This is 14% more, or just over 49,000 metric tons more than the previous record set back in 2014. Non-fat dry milk and skim milk powder volume also set a record at nearly 900,000 metric tons, again 10% more than the 2020 record, so second year in a row. And with the volume of skim milk, non-fat dry milk powder that we exported this past year, the U.S. became the single largest export country of these two products last year. Whey volume also set a record at almost 614,000 metric tons. 10% apparently seems to be the number, but around 10% more than 2020. Lactose volume also set a record at 393,000 metric tons, or 4% more than 2020. And then fluid milk and cream volume, although the U.S. is not a major exporter of fluid milk and cream, the amount that we exported last year did equate to a record at nearly 39 million gallons. And butter did not set a record this past year, but I forget the total amount that was exported, but it is second to the record that was set in 2014. So even though butter didn't set a record, it was close. So moving on into risk management. The dairy margin coverage December margin was announced at 953, so just narrowly missed triggering an indemnity at the top 950 level. January margin would be announced next Monday, and supplemental DMC in 2022 DMC enrollment was extended and will be open until Friday, March 25th, 2022. So there's still opportunity if you missed the initial deadline to sign up for that. We'll take another look at that here in a moment on the projection side of things. So 2021 DMC ended up paying 11 out of 12 months, with the December margin, of course, being the only month that it didn't. What it equated to was $24,384 for per 1 million pounds of production history enrolled in DMC up to at the 950 max coverage, which is about $2.29, represents about $2.29 a hundredweight of net benefit relative to production history. Now, looking at projections, I know milk price looks really good, but the feed price continues to increase and climb up a little bit. So I'm still recommending that you consider using DMC as risk management for at least up to your first 5 million pounds. Things look good and projections show that it's not going to pay out this year, but I would draw your attention to the bottom line in the average column. That U.S. all milk price trigger is $21.81. So enrolling in DMC sets a price for a U.S. all milk price floor of nearly $22 a hundredweight, which you can't do for 15 cents a hundredweight in any other risk management program that's available currently. So it's still, despite the price, it doesn't take, wouldn't take a whole lot to change these projections. So last week, I actually received an email question about how much the margin changes if you vary one factor and keep the others constant. So I ran the numbers. And for just for your reference, for every $1 increase in corn price, the DMC margin decreases by $1.07 a hundredweight. For every $50 per ton increase in soybean meal, that reduces the margin by 37 cents a hundredweight. And every $50 increase in the alfalfa price reduces the margin by 68 cents. And then, of course, obviously, with milk price being the only thing on the additive side of the equation, that change is dollar for dollar, whether it goes up or goes down. So milk prices, again, look really good right now, but there are several pressures that cause milk price to drop and feed prices to continue to escalate. So any combination of dropping that margin by around $2, it's gonna start triggering indemnities with DMC, even though milk price is historically high and on the class 4 side, even record high potentially. So my plea to you is, again, to look at DMC. It sets a nearly $22 floor for U.S. all milk price floor, just 15 cents or about $1,500 per 1 million pounds. Then, according to national averages, the average break-even cost in 2021 across the country was over $20 a hundredweight, and is likely higher here in the Northeast. So setting a high milk price right now is baseline milk price or floor is imperative to making sure you take advantage of these higher milk prices. Their revenue projection. So on the class three side, the A 95% protected price, 100% class 3. The prices shown here are February 17th offerings. The class 3 price, 95% price protected floors can be set from a low of $18.02 in the second quarter of next year to a high of $21.25 next quarter, for an average price of about 49 cents a hundredweight. These floor prices average in the 60th to the 100th percentile of their respective quarterly 5-year averages. So these close-up prices, the second quarter and third quarter are both in the 100th percentile, while the further out quarters are a little less. And then on class 4, 95% price protected policies can be purchased to set price floors from a low of $18.64 in the second quarter of 2023 up to $22.91 in the second quarter of this year, for an average price of 61 cents a hundredweight. These price floors are all in the 100th percentile of their respective 5-year average quarterly prices. Again, I know the premiums may look pricey, but these class 4 prices are really good, especially now through the end of the year. And I encourage you to talk with your dairy revenue protection or crop insurance agent and see what his or her advice is on purchasing some protection if DMC doesn't adequately cover your cost of production or your production volume. And just keep in mind that until March 15th, quarter 2 of this year through quarter 2 of 2023, policies are available. After March 15th, that sales period will move to third quarter of 2022 to the third quarter of 2023. So just a few statistics, couple of statistics that I usually report on the DRP side. Excuse me. 30.1 billion pounds of milk covered in the US so far this year. That's in 2,310 policies that have been sold, and no policies have been indemnified yet. In Pennsylvania, 408 million pounds of milk are covered, by 114 policies, and again, no policies indemnified. And with that, that is all I have for you this afternoon. If you have any questions, I didn't see any come up in the chat box, but if there are any questions, you can go ahead and chat them now, or unmute yourself and ask is fine as well. The next, while you're considering questions, the next Protecting Your Profits call will be March 23rd at noon. The link here is what is normally what it is here that you see, and then the conference call information as well is the same. And if there are no questions, thank you again for joining me today, and I look forward to talking with you again next month, and have a great rest of your week. Thank you.